Canada's inflation rate slowed to 2.3% in March, 0.3% lower than expected. It was 2.6% in February. Statistics Canada reports increases in the cost of food and alcoholic beverages were largely offset by lower prices for gasoline. The Bank of Canada is holding its next interest rate at 2.75 today. That is breaking news right now. Joining us now is finance journalist Brian Borzakowski. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
So it's holding steady, 2.75.
Yeah, it's holding steady. This was the first cut in, or the first announcement in a while that economists were pretty much split as whether he would cut or not. And I could have really gone either way, but they decided, the Bank of Canada just announced now, to stay steady for the first time in many announcements and several announcements, really because of the uncertainty around Donald Trump's trade war. I mean, the economy is slowing down, which you might think then would warrant a cut. Inflation is within that target range of 2%, which you could say then it might warrant a cut. But the Bank of Canada has essentially said that we don't know what is going to happen to the economy, to tariffs. It's so uncertain that we're just going to hang tight now and wait and see what more could happen in the months ahead.
Are you surprised by this?
I'm not surprised, although I wouldn't be surprised if they cut also. Okay. I think for them, this is probably the best course of action, in that the danger of cutting too fast or cutting more is that you could increase inflation if people start feeling better in spending. And yes, the cuts do, the idea to cut would help spur the economy in the face of a slowing economy because of tariffs, which is what we're seeing. The economy is slowing. But if you do it and then people start spending more and inflation rises, then you have the inflation problem again. And that's what the Bank of Canada is towing this line here, is how much do we cut, because we don't want inflation to rise. They finally got it under control. So if they cut too much, does it go back up? And that's what they're sort of thinking here. So if they wait now, they could always cut again, next month or in the next announcement. Doing it now, they've already gotten to a place where I think it's safe to just kind of, stay pat.
And we're also in the midst of a federal election right now as well. We don't know what's going to happen after that. Maybe there's a new deal on the table after that point.
Exactly. There is so much uncertainty both in Canada and the U.S. now that taking an action, I think, would be maybe the wrong move. Like, you could see how it could be the wrong move. Wait at least, another couple of weeks. We know who's in power in Canada. Do they start discussions? How is Donald Trump going to talk about that new leader? He hasn't talked much about the 51st state yet, although his press secretary did say just recently that that's still part of the discussion. So we'll see how he talks, which will make a difference. All the tariff stuff that's happened over the last month, Canada has been exempt from some of this stuff. We haven't seen really new tariffs other than some auto tariffs getting put on Canadian goods. So that's a positive sign. So what does that mean? And the Bank of Canada has laid out two scenarios in the press release they just revealed now, where they could see kind of slower growth in Canada and inflation maintaining where it's at now. Okay. Or they could see a scenario where we go into a recession where growth really kind of craters and inflation rises. And those are the two things they're watching, which I think will influence their next moves.
So what's the advice for consumers and for anybody who wants to spend right now?
I think you just kind of need to see how your finances are doing. Do you have money to spend on something? This doesn't move mortgage rates really much anymore. Variable rate mortgage will stay the same, so you're not going to get a relief there this time at least, but you have over the last several announcements. And just basically look at your personal finances. How are you feeling? There's no really good advice. Everyone's feeling very uncertain, but hopefully we'll get some more resolution. Either way, if things are going to get worse, hopefully we know that soon. If they get better, hopefully we know that soon, which will help with planning. When it comes to the stock market, it's been rough. Don't pull out your money because you're not going to know when to get back in.
And again, just wait and just be patient with that as well.
Yeah, exactly.